full sol. So what is a solstice? It is full solar light. And for thousands of years, our ancestors have gathered on this day, the summer solstice, the fall equinox, the winter solstice, the spring equinox, and summer solstice, right? Those are the four corners of our year. And it actually relates to the astrology chart. It relates to time. So if you were to think about time and compare the seasons to a clock, then solstice would be the high noon, right? And winter solstice would be opposite that. It would be midnight. So we're at the high noon of solar expression. That means that it's the time to shine the brightest. It can also mean we got to be careful in the sun because it is so bright that, can only handle a little bit here and there. Like today, I went out for a little bit, got some calendula flowers from my garden. These are edible, by the way. They're delicious. And I couldn't stay out for very long, 10, 20 minutes, and had to get into the shade. So welcome. This is going to be a full solar solstice activation session. We're going to learn about the solstice. We're going to relate it to the True to the Stars Sidereal Astrological System, and why when everyone says that the solstice is shining on the Tropic of Cancer right now. We've all heard of the Tropic of Cancer. Well, what if I were to reveal to you that the Tropic of Cancer is actually not accurate? It's the wrong sign. Yeah, Western astrology has been saying that the Tropic of Cancer lines up with the solstice, the Tropic of Capricorn lines up with the winter solstice. But the truth is, that's not true. And I'm going to explain why today. I also want to share with you another type of calendar that the pagan Celtic people have used for thousands of years, where the seasons are actually, the start and end are actually different. So today, right, the solstice is considered the beginning of summer. Well, I'm going to challenge that tonight. So if you want to know more about that, definitely stay. I'll explain it here. And at the end of this video, we are going to do a very powerful energetic clearing method for clearing curses, negative energy, any dark stuff. Because according to the pagan tradition, this time of the year, the solstice, the full light, also means that the dark is stronger, right? Just like the polarity of the yin yang. When there's lots of light, there's lots of dark. And so that's okay. Everything is a balance. But as a energy clearing practitioner, I know that some of us are feeling tired, burdened, etc., and with all the intensity. So I wanted to offer you a really great clearing tonight. So stay on board and we'll get you there. Okay. So Stonehenge, right? Solstice magic. Thousands of years ago, 3,000 years ago, Stonehenge was built. And this is actually a picture of what happens at Stonehenge on the solstice, which is that the sun literally shines through this gateway at the precise moment of the sunrise on the solstice every year, winter and summer, which is just so powerful. What did the ancients know about this day that was so powerful that they built so many monuments to it, from the pyramids to Stonehenge? We're going to get more into that as we go on. So welcome to the solstice. If this were a temple or a location where we could all attend, like it was a gathering or a party, welcome. Welcome to this gateway of high light, highest light of the year. Yes, such a powerful time. Don't worry, we get about 3 days where the sun hangs out in this kind of like beautiful place. I mean, how amazing is it that the sun literally gets to hang out in its highest placement for 3 days before we're getting ready, before it's going to start moving in its opposite pattern towards the shortest day of the year. So that's why it hangs out. It's on pause. And so it's a great time for assessing your life, counting your blessings. What am I grateful for? What light shines the brightest in my life? What am I most excited about? It's a powerful activation portal. Yes. So welcome to this day. I want to say thank you to Blake and April and Carrie Ann and Heidi Ricardo. I really beautiful, and to my partner Michael. So you've been such amazing guests on my monthly new moon and full moon activation calls, and I just thank you all so much. I treasure and adore your presence, each of you, and I send you so many blessings for this solstice, for your life, for your vision, for activating the abundance and joy in your life. And if you would like to join my new moon or full moon calls, I'm going to be sharing them a lot more very regularly for intention setting and celebration of what we create. So the summer solstice was actually today, early, 2:15 a.m. in California. So that was during the dark time of the night. So it's very beautiful that it is daytime now, because we got to have this beautiful solar light. And I'm so in awe of all of the cultures around this world have been coming together on the solstice for thousands of years with their bright colors and the tribal gatherings and dancing and singing. I'm going to go into a little bit how different cultures are celebrating today, but it is just worldwide. This day has been celebrated for thousands of years. Just so powerful. And so it's a really great opportunity to connect to that energy. I really invite you, if you have time tonight, to go and build a fire, go outside, go on a walk, go dance, go shake your body free, be expressive, because this is such a powerful time for just celebrating the soul, right? And the soul, many people say we are a human being having a soul and a human body having a human experience, and that we're not this body, we're the soul, we're the light that animates it, right? On this amazing adventure, this amazing journey. So it's such a great day to celebrate that truth and connect to that beauty that lives in each of you. So I was hoping tonight could be an opportunity to kind of feel that expansion of our connection. And during the clearing portion of this call, I will invite you to expand and connect. They say that that there is a seed in the heart, a portal that connects to every single other being on this earth. And so when we tune into that connection or that portal, we're actually able to connect to that energy on a level that we may not even realize, with a power that we may not even understand yet. And so just like there is a tree in the middle of this circle, we are all rooted to this same earth, and we all blossom towards the same light. So if there's anyone that you love, you want to think of tonight, anyone you just want to connect, it's the most beautiful day for opening, expanding, and connecting and celebrating, right? I found this beautiful picture of this flower cake, and I just went, yum. Right? The sweet things. What is life? What is the gift of this life? What are the sweet things in your life? What are the things you are celebrating, that you are grateful for, that you are activated for, that you are cheering for? That is what this solstice energy is about, is that full on, full activation, full alignment to soul. Let's do this. That's that pregnant with the possibility of divine light being birthed onto this earth. So what does solstice mean? I said this in the beginning, and these are all beautiful flowers with sacred geometry. And I just love the flowers on this earth and our sun, because it takes the sunlight to grow every living thing, from our physical bodies to the plants, to the trees, to the flowers. It takes all of that sunlight to create the life that we have on this earth. So today, really at its most infinite and focused intention, is for celebrating the power of light to create light. And how amazing that every piece of life has the same or similar sacred geometric pattern that governs it and grows within it. So amazing. We are so much more connected than we often realize. So I wanted to share with you about, I looked up the definition of soul, and it was defined, there were many definitions. One, of course, is the type of money in Mexico, it's a soul, but it is also the Roman god of the sun. And I found this beautiful hymn. So Helios is the name of the sun in Greek and Roman mythology. And I really loved this description of the sun. And in that culture, or that storyline, Helios is the god who drives across the sun, and he has a team of horses. And this team of horses carries him so that he can be the light, right? He is the sun shining through the sky, being driven across the sky by his horses. And so this is a hymn from the Homeric Odyssey. So as he rides in his chariot, he shines upon men and deathless gods, and piercingly he gazes with his eyes from his golden helmet, bright rays beam dazzling from him, and his bright locks streaming from the temples of his head gracefully enclose his far-seen face. A rich, fine-spun garment flows upon his body and flutters in the wind, and stallions carry him. Then, when he has stayed his golden-yoked chariot and horses, he rests there upon the highest point of heaven until he marvelously drives them down again through heaven to ocean. I just thought that was so beautiful. So as I was saying before, I was really struck by the comparison I was having between a clock. So here we have a clock on the right, okay? And here we have a sidereal astrology chart. So the chart is divided up into 12 houses, and then we have the clock, which has 12 p.m. So in an astrology chart, up here would be high noon, just like up here would be high noon. Down here would be midnight. This would be midnight, 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. So the 12 p.m. is where we shine the brightest in our sidereal astrology chart, how we get our light out to the world. 6 a.m. would be our entrance into the world, who we are, what people see us, what people make sense of us. 3 and 4, the 3 and 4 houses would actually be 12 midnight. It'd be our deep unconscious, our family patterns, all that kind of stuff. And over here would be the 7th house, or 6 p.m. And so when you think about cycles and seasons, we have clock, we have an astrology chart, and we have the moon cycle, the moon going from full to new, to full to noon. We have the seasons going from summer to fall to winter to spring to summer to fall to winter, and it all has the same cycle, and it's like bigger cycles and smaller cycles within it. And I just find that so incredible. So the celebration of the solstices is most strongly associated with paganism, and I find that to be a somewhat strange word. It just refers to ancient traditions and spiritual and religious practices of a people from an ancient era who were before Christianity. And so in that group of people, who are mainly the Celtic people in Ireland and in England, although this picture here is from, gosh, is it Lithuania? I'm forgetting the exact space, but it's a pretty amazing country. So according to this group, the Celtic group, the name of solstice is Litha, and it's one of the most important holidays of the whole year. It celebrates the midsummer and the power of the sun god. According to them, magic is thought to be the strongest summer solstice, and it's also the time when the veil between this world and the next is at its thinnest. So according to pagan folklore, evil spirits in particular may walk the earth more freely, and in order to ward them off, people wear protective garland of herbs and flowers. And one of the most powerful is St. John's wort. And St. John's wort is also a really good antidepressant, in case you wonder. But be careful going into the sunlight with it, because if you take it, because it makes your eyes more sensitive. Okay, so the Celtic people have a different calendar than we utilize here in the West. So I'll get back to that. But first I want to show you how here we have a sidereal astrology chart. We've got 12 houses. We've got 12 signs. I, of course, use 13 signs, but this was such a great teaching tool. I wanted to share it. So here we are, we're at the summer solstice, and this actually connects with Gemini. I know everyone out there thinks that today is the first day of Cancer, but I use a totally different astrology system that is based on where the stars actually are. And Western astrology, I'm sorry to say this, is based on where the stars were 2,000 years ago. It's not accurate at all to the stars in the sky. In fact, they should not even call it astrology because it is no longer the study of the stars. It's the study of where the stars were, which is very different. Okay, I'll come back. So here we have the summer solstice. We've got a sidereal astrology chart. So summer solstice would connect up to the 10th and the 9th house of your astrology chart, whereas Virgo would connect to the autumn equinox, or Virgo Libra, and Aries Pisces would connect to the spring equinox. The winter solstice would connect to Sagittarius and Capricorn, and so you see the astrology chart and our seasons also connect. In fact, that's what Western astrology created a lot of their astrology for, was to monitor the seasons, right? To keep track of the seasons for their growing. So I want to show you in our Western world, what we say the start and end of seasons are. So according to here in the West, the first day of summer is June 21st, which is today, right? The first day of autumn is September 22nd, which is the equinox. The first day of winter is December 21st, which would be the winter solstice, and March 20th would be the spring equinox. So I found this other information, which was very interesting to me. There's something called a meteorological system. And I think that's based on the weather and the actual feel of the season. And it's different than what we're following. So instead of summer starting June 21st, according to this system, summer would start June 1st. And instead of spring starting March 1st, it would actually, March 20th, it would actually start March 1st. And winter, instead of starting December 21st, would actually start December 1st. So I found this very interesting, because the Celtic people have a very similar system to that, to the meteorological system. And I started following this a couple years ago when, of course, my mom taught me. My mom is so brilliant. One day I'm going to bring her on here so you can meet her. She's a very intelligent woman. She taught me, she said, Lotus, in the Celtic system, they actually start spring earlier than we do. And I said, oh, yeah? She said, yeah. She said, the 1st of February is a holiday called Imbolc, and that is, or St. Bridget's Day, and that is the day they say that spring begins. And I thought, oh, that's interesting, which causes when, instead of the spring equinox being the first day of spring, it's the center, which makes sense with the word equinox, which is equal light, equal dark, yeah? So then that also changes the solstice. So today wouldn't be the first day of summer in the Celtic tradition. Today would be the high point or midpoint of summer, but it would not be the beginning. The first day of summer, according to the Celtic tradition, would actually be May Day or May 1st. And so this is totally different than what we've been following, yeah? I started following this a couple years back, and it was amazing because I started to feel more in tune with the seasons, more in tune with the weather, more connected to myself. I felt like I had longer time to enjoy the summer because I knew it's actually starting on May 1st. You better start feeling that summer vibe early, because on August 1st, according to this system, was the first day of autumn, or the harvest. It's called Lugnasha. And you can correct me, I probably didn't say that right. Or Lammas Day, okay? And so autumn equinox normally would be considered the beginning of fall, but actually in this system, it's considered the middle of fall. Anyways, I'm just blown away with how much more accurate this feels, and how in our culture in the West, so much of what we've been being taught is like not really aligned with what's happening. Okay, so that is going to lead me into our next discussion, which is, did you know that Western astrology is based on where the stars were 2,000 years ago? Now, if you've heard me before, you've heard this before, but if you haven't, like, pay close attention. So here we have Western astrology, and on March 21st, the equinox, they say that it's the first day of Aries. But if we were to look at a telescope or onto Star Walk 2 and app, we would find that actually the first day of Aries isn't until April 19th. That's like a whole month, yeah? And so Western astrology is based on where the stars were 2,000 years ago. because they didn't take into account something called the precession. And so every 72 years, there's a slight wobble in the Earth, and it causes a 1-degree shift in the constellation. And so Western astrology is actually 24 degrees behind what is actually in the sky. So today, everyone thinks is the first day of Cancer, but it would actually be the first day of Gemini. Surprise! And so Western astrology is not even about the stars anymore. Astrology is defined as the study of the stars, and yet Western astrology is based on where the stars were 2,000 years ago. So if you were to look up at the sky and say, where is the sun today? You're not going to see Cancer. You're going to see Gemini. And I actually have some pictures and I can prove it to you, which is so exciting. So a second thing that I utilize in my chart readings and I utilize in figuring out what the sign is today is that all of the constellations are different sizes. So Virgo takes 45 days for the sun to move through it. Aries takes about 25, etc. But Western astrology only says 30 days, 30 days, 30 days for every sign. Western astrology is just not accurate to what is happening in the sky. The True the Stars Sidereal system that I utilize is you can get a Star Walk 2 app, you can get a telescope and look through it, and it will match exactly what is in the sky with what it says the sign is in, okay? So that brings me back today. So if you're an astrologer, you'll know, or if you've heard about this, you'll know that there's something called the Tropic of Cancer, which is a line moving across the world or the globe or the flat earth, whatever. And this line on the solstice in the northern hemisphere is where the sun is. This is the brightest line of the year. And so on the darkest day of the year, they call it the Tropic of Capricorn, and that's where the sun will be then, shining its brightest light. Of course, it's much lower. And so I'm going to say here and now live that this is incorrect, that the Tropic of Cancer was valid 2,000 years ago. But if you were to actually do the mathematics of what sign this tropic line is, it's actually going to go back into Gemini, which again relates to the fact that Western astrology is 24 degrees behind where the actual constellations are in the sky. So, right, everyone says today, the sun was directly above the Tropic of Cancer in the northern hemisphere at the moment of the solstice, right? And you can see here what parts of the world this line of the Tropic of Cancer are affecting, right? This imaginary circle of latitude at 23.5 goes through Mexico, North Africa, India, it goes through Saudi Arabia, it goes through Iraq. We actually did a little research last night and we discovered, well, we asked the question, where on the world is the solar eclipse going to be happening at solar noon? And you can research what solar noon is. It's the highest solar light of the day. So we're like, where on this earth is there the brightest light on the brightest day of the year? It was fascinating. Guess what we found out? It was mind-blowing. We did some research and it took us to Saudi Arabia. I never had gone on Google Maps, never checked this out, but it took us to Saudi Arabia and it took us, strangely enough, to Mecca. So we're like, what in the world? And that was the longitude and latitude and time zone of where solar noon happened today on the solstice. So brightest light, brightest time of the day for brightest light happened in Mecca in Saudi Arabia. And Mecca, of course, is the most spiritually revered place in the world for those who are Islamic. In fact, they pray every day to Mecca. And there is a pilgrimage that every Islamic person is expected to make once in their lifetime at least to Mecca. And they walk counterclockwise around a big, very, to them, very spiritual, holy black box. And so I just thought, wow, this is wild that the solstice, the brightest light of the year, is shining at solar noon on that location specifically. And I just thought, wow, how powerful is that? Okay, so what is sidereal astrology? It is based purely on science, on logic, on what is happening in the sky. Sidereal is an adjective that stems from sidereus, which means star. So sidereal astrology means of or relating to the stars. It's star-based. Everything I share with you is star-based. It's based on what planet is in what sign, when, as accurate as possible. And so in that system, the tropic line becomes the Tropic of Gemini and the Tropic of Sagittarius. And so that means that today is the first day of Gemini. So welcome everyone to Gemini season. Holy cow. I know it's exactly 20, it's a whole sign different from what Western astrology says. Everyone's saying happy day of Cancer. But I'm here to bring the truth and disrupt the narrative and share with you that today is actually the very first day of Gemini. And what is Gemini? Gemini is communicative, expressive, loves to chat, loves to talk, market, share information. It is the marketing sign of the whole freaking constellation. And so here we are. We have another comparison of the Western astrology system. They say that the first day of, today is the first day of Cancer. So we have a picture here, and here we have the sun, and that's the sign Cancer. Here's Gemini, sun in Cancer. This is Western astrology. And over here, we have a picture of the sun in Gemini, 0 degrees of Gemini today, June 21st, in the sidereal system. And I went ahead and I took a picture from my Star Walk 2 app. Paula, and leave a comment below if you've actually gotten the Star Walk 2 app. If you have gotten the Star Walk 2 app and you would be willing to take a picture of it from your phone, you just pull it up and screenshot what sign the sun is in today, and you want to leave a comment below, that would be awesome. I would super appreciate that. I just want the truth to be out there. I want people to see it. I want them to sense it. I want them to perceive, wow, look, there's a picture of the constellation Gemini, and there's a picture of the sun. That is where the sun is actually shining today on the solstice. If you have a birthday around this time, congratulations, you would be a Gemini. Welcome, right? So there's Cancer, there's Gemini, there's the sun. You can see that the sun has to travel quite a ways to make its way to Cancer. Yeah, it's not going to be until mid-July, y'all. So we're in full-on Gemini season. It's a great time to market, to network, to share information, to talk, to do interviews, to talk. Just be careful you don't get worn out and take some breaks. Okay. So another thing I want to share with you all is very exciting news. So there's something really exciting happening on June 24th that we haven't seen for a thousand years. Raise your hand if that is exciting. So, wow, something's happening on the 24th, which is that Venus, the moon, Uranus, Venus, Mercury, Mars, all these planets are going to appear in the sky at dawn in a row. It's like a planetary parade. And we haven't seen this for 1,000 years, since the year 8949. And it's not going to happen again until May 6, 2492. So if you have the ability to get up before dawn on the 24th, I highly recommend it. Take a picture of those planets. Leave a comment below. I'd love to see your pictures because this is so exciting. What a powerful time. It's like we're all coming back together. That's what it feels like. Okay, so here we go. June 24th, in a couple days, we're going to have Jupiter, Mars, the moon, Venus, Mercury, all in a row. I mean, how powerful is that? It's just so powerful. They're not all going to be in the same sign. Mars and Jupiter are going to be in Pisces. The moon will be in Aries. Venus will be in Taurus, and as will Mercury. So it's going to be earthy with the Venus and Mercury. It's going to be fiery with our emotions, moon and Aries, and it's going to be watery with Jupiter and Mars and Pisces. Saturn will also be in Sagittarius, so definitely expect a little fire. So here's another picture. I took it from Star Walk 2. It's not all, they're not all out yet, but there's the moon, Mars, and Jupiter. So the moon and Jupiter are conjuncting today. Moon is emotion. Jupiter is expansion, is blessings. There's just kind of this joyful, joyous, self-expressive energy of Jupiter. It's full of luck. It's full of blessings. I like to describe Jupiter. If Jupiter came into a bar or into a cafe, right, walked in, he might look like Santa Claus with a bag full of toys because Jupiter is just so full of gift giving, right? It's like the most beneficent, gift giving, lucky planet there is. So coming together with the moon today on the solstice, there can be this sense of emotional expansion, emotional joyousness. It's really powerful. It's like a blessing, yeah? A beautiful blessing on the day. So what is so cool about the solstice? So these are called the Sarsen stones. They were put up in the center of Stonehenge 2,500 years ago, or BC, and they were carefully aligned so that if you stand in the middle of the stone circle today, the sun rises just to the left and shines through like that. And so this is actually a picture of the Stonehenge site today. And wow, look, there were 6,000 people there today. So all over the world, people are coming together and celebrating. And I just think that is so beautiful to feel that world celebration happening. And what a powerful time to come together, all of us here. So beautiful, especially since the pandemic. People haven't been able to travel. They haven't been able to come together. But today, a lot of that has changed all over the world. People getting to finally go to celebrations they haven't gotten to do for years now. In Giza, at the pyramids, as the sun sets at the summer solstice, it will set right between the two of the most famous pyramids in Giza. So what did our ancestors know? Right? That is the question. How did they know? I mean, they must have been so tuned into the cycles and the seasons that they figured out, okay, every year the sun is going to be at that place and it's going to be the brightest and the most vibrant, and we want to showcase it. We want to honor it because it's so powerful, right? And the sun, of course, has been worshipped for thousands of years. In Egyptian religion, it was the sun god Ra, right? In Greek mythology, it's Helios. There's so many references to the sun god, right? And of course there are, because the sun gives life, just like on so many levels, God gives us soul life. So very deep connection to the soul, the sun, God, source, creation, very powerful. In the US, this is a medicine wheel built by the Plains Indians, and it's a site of an annual ritual sun dance. So in Native American culture, they also worship the sun, and they dance the Wiwanyang Washipi, a sun-gazing dance around a sacred cottonwood tree. And this is a dance that symbolizes that there's this beautiful connection between heaven and between earth. And how many of you felt that before? We're walking, we feel the sun, we feel the earth below us, that we are almost like this beautiful pillar between heaven and earth. In New Mexico today, in Chaco Canyon, which is a place my mom would often tell me about growing up, she spent a lot of time there. In the ancient dwellings of that land, there's a circle, this beautiful spiral. And today at midday, the sun strikes right here and creates a dagger slice of sunlight. And I just thought that was so beautiful. Here's a picture of them doing their sacred solstice dancing and celebration, dressing up with, buffalo outfits and eagle, praising the nature and the land and our connection to it. All over the world, people are celebrating. In Norway, there's something called the midnight sun. And so in the northern parts of this world, the highest, places, the sun is still shining up to midnight or past it. It's like all night long they have light. What an amazing, amazing part of the year. In Alaska today, on the solstice, they are going to be, just bringing it back down to earth, right? They're going to celebrate the solstice with a midnight baseball game. So this is a picture from them at midnight in Alaska during the full sunlight of this beautiful solstice time. In Ottawa, Ontario, they are going to be they're doing a beautiful summer solstice indigenous festival. In Reykjavik, Iceland, is something called a secret solstice festival, where they have 72 hours of sun. So if you like to party and dance and hang out with your friends, well, there's 72 hours of light available in Iceland today. So that might be a fun destination. In Tyrol, in Austria, they have a celebration going back all the way to the Middle Ages, where they create massive bonfires atop many of their mountains, which turns the mountains into beacons and casts a whole mystical effect across the region. These are masks that they wear, and here's some pictures of them gathering to celebrate. And it's just such a powerful thing to think of people coming together all over the world tonight, lighting a fire, gathering in groups, celebrating this life. In Latvia, they have a festival known as Johnny, the Johnny Festival, which they make beautiful floral wreaths, they decorate with flowers, traditional singing, dancing, bonfires, and they eat something called sour cheese made with caraway seeds. That sounded really good. Maybe one day I'll get to try it. Okay. In St. Petersburg, Russia, the Russians celebrate solstice with something called the White Nights Festival, which usually starts in May and ends in July. It includes ballet, opera, and some of the famous red scarlet sailboats, as well as just incredible fireworks. And I'm just like, wow. I'm so glad I'm doing this presentation because I never knew that the solstice was being celebrated all across the world like this. I knew it was, but seeing the pictures, feeling the energy, like there's music happening and there are bonfires and there's dancing and there's singing. It's so powerful. Such a powerful recognition of life on this earth. Now, if we were to go down to South America, that would be a very different story. Today is actually would be their winter solstice, right? And in the Mapache, they celebrate today as their new year, as well as the Atacama and the Aymara. So I thought I would include some pictures of these beautiful indigenous peoples celebrating their new year, which leads us to just the reiteration that, the stars are actually moving and Western astrology doesn't take that into account. And so the stars are not where they were. They've moved, and Western astrology is based on the past. So if you want to get current, you want to tune into the energy, frequency, and vibration of where the stars actually are, what's actually happening in the sky right now, today, I highly recommend you look into Sidereal Through the Stars system. If you'd like to have me look at your chart from this perspective, if you have any questions, I've done amazing work with relationship counseling, looking at the charts of the two people. I've also been able to help people clear up their purpose and their path and get more focused on where they want to go. It's amazing stuff. And my accuracy rating went from 85% when I was following a different system to now 100%. So again, I'm just reiterating, today is the first day of Sun in Gemini, the moon is in Pisces, Jupiter is in Pisces, Mars is in Pisces. So there's like a watery, dreamy quality because we've got Neptune, the moon, Jupiter, Chiron, Mars, all in Pisces. And this has been going on for like 3 months. So if you're wondering, like, why haven't I gotten my get up and go action oriented energy for the year yet? Wait until more planets move into Aries. Right now we have Uranus in Aries and the North Node in Aries. Venus has moved into Taurus, the more grounding, stabilizing energy, very anchoring. But when Mars is getting close to Aries. When Mars moves into Aries, that's going to really give a lot more energy and motivation. And I'll keep you abreast of when that's going to happen. So what is Gemini? Today is the very first day of Gemini on the solstice. Gemini is quick, has an agile mind. You tend to maybe avoid emotional involvement and entanglements. You prefer to keep things light, to travel. You like things to be constantly new, constantly exciting. You're inquisitive, chatty, playful. Your moods change quickly. You can be restless, constantly in motion, known for versatility, adaptability, and you're very vivacious. You entertain every party that you go to. I like to compare it to like a butterfly, like a social butterfly. Gemini season is all about connecting to lots of people, talking, chatting, being that beautiful butterfly, going, smelling all the flowers, every single one, right? You don't just pick one. You just keep going, keep learning, keep growing. So I wanted to just briefly show you the difference between the Western system and the True the Star system. Today, in the True the Star system, the sun is in Gemini. The Western system, it's in Cancer. That's kind of like, that's the biggest takeaway. If you are more into astrology and you want to kind of check out the differences, in Western astrology, the moon is in Aries. In Sidereal, it's in Pisces. Venus would be almost to Gemini in the Western system, but fully in Taurus at 5 degrees of Taurus in the True the Star system. So I'll just leave this up for a moment. If you want to compare it, looking at it yourself, you can. But the basic message is that Western astrology is 24 or more degrees ahead of what sign the planet is actually in. So when Western astrology says the sun is in Cancer or in whatever sign, just think, well, in True the Stars, it's going to be the sign probably right before it, typically. Sometimes there's overlap, but that's mostly the case. So as I said before, Gemini are the butterflies of the astrological constellations. They tend to have a dual personality. They love to be busy, witty, charming, flirty. They can be communicative about everything but what they're feeling inside. And I've definitely, I can relate to that. They're seekers of knowledge, extremely curious by nature. But as I said before, I love using the 13 sign system that includes Ophiuchus. You can check out my last YouTube video where I explain what Ophiuchus is, the 13th sign, the sidereal astrological zodiac. It's so real. And it's including that 13th sign has caused, so there's differences in astrology. There's three main differences I'll explain. So there's Western astrology, there's sidereal astrology, and then there's True the Stars, the 13 sign sidereal astrology. Are you getting that? So you can just do sidereal astrology, will not include the 13 sign, and it will not include the fact that every constellation is a different size. So I followed sidereal astrology from age 7, 8 till now because my mom taught it to me. And it was really interesting. She learned about it in San Francisco in the 1960s. And she told me about how it's based on where the stars actually are. And Western astrology is based on where the stars were 3,000, 2,000 years ago. And as a child, it made sense. Like, don't we want to follow what the stars say, right? If we're following the stars, don't we want to follow where they actually are? And so it wasn't until January 1st of this year, 2022, that I bought my first program so that I could even calculate my own chart using the fact that there are 13 signs and that they all have different sizes for the constellations. And when I did that, oh my God, I had such a radical shift happen in my chart. So I've talked to a lot of you about the north and south node of the moon. North node being like the part of your chart that describes your highest destiny, what you can, like what you're growing towards, your greatest challenge or gift. It's like but when you do it, you're so happy, you're so aligned, you're so activated. And then the south node is what you come in, you're really strong with, but if you only do that, you're not growing or expanding, you're not evolving. And so I found out when I purchased my first calculation tool for calculating my own chart, I had thought my north node was in Aries, south node Libra, which is all about independence and relationship. And so I thought my lesson was to learn to be independent and active and like a warrior and to let go of my reliance on relationships and codependency and all that. But when I got my chart calculator and my new system and I did my chart, my north node was in a totally different sign and it threw me. It was like, oh my God, really? So it went from being an Aries to Pisces. Now, if you're in astrology, you're going to totally get it. If not, that's fine too. So north node in Pisces is a totally different energy. Essentially, it's learning how to be in the flow of the oneness and in your spiritual center. And the south node in Virgo means learning how to let go of working so much. Can anyone relate? Does anyone work so much and they just don't know how to like chill out, meditate? You know, it's like it feels so challenging to do those things, right? Because we have so many responsibilities. We have so many things we have to get done, bills we have to pay, work we have to complete. And when do we ever make time to come into our center, to breathe, to connect to who we are? And so I found out in January that was my soul challenge, was to learn how to become more meditative, more connected to my soul, less worried about the details. Can you imagine your chart tells you don't worry about the details? I mean, wow, what a release, right? My partner came in that night. I'm lying on the couch just like crying because I felt like my soul has always had this tendency to want to sing or do art or just be creative and expressive. But I've always shushed it and been like, I have to work, You have to get things done, all of that. And so in that moment, I felt like the universe was finally offering me this olive branch of like, you have permission to follow your soul, to follow your truth, to do what's right for you. And so I just had such an amazing experience with this system, and it's affected my life in so many profound ways. And I feel like I'm more in touch with who I am. I feel like I'm learning how to love myself on a true level that I've never had before. And I really feel like it has a lot to do with learning about where my north and south node were actually located and what sign, which I'd been wrong about for 20 years. So this is powerful work. It's life-changing. It's transformational. If you've worked with me and some of the astrology information I gave you has affected your life in a profound way and has enabled you to get more clear on who you are and what you're here to do in this life, and you feel called to, please leave a comment below so other people can see what this work can do. I'm just a facilitator of information. I just read these charts. I have a lot of compassion, a lot of empathy, and a lot of desire to support you and assist you, but the information is from the stars, and that was the map given to you at birth. So if you want to know about your map from the stars, that's the most accurate based on where the stars are, I'm happy to sit down with you and share more with you. Just reach out, just send me a message and let me know you'd like to, and we'll totally create some time and space for that to happen. Closing, I just want to thank everyone so much for being here and taking the time out your busy schedule to watch and learn. I want to wish you all the most amazing happy solstice to you all. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. If you would like to have your True the Stars chart read and learn more about your purpose and why you're here, if you would like to know more about this amazing information, reach out. I'm happy to share with you. And I send you all so much love from my heart. Aloha.